So my first speaker is Dr. Deborah Savitt, followed by David Fick.
Town Council, Mayor Drost.
Hi.
I'm Dr. Deborah Savitt. I'm a resident of Yucca Valley. I'm also elected a representative of the Central Committee, County of San Bernardino, 8042. Okay. I recently reviewed some permits for the permitting process of the Joshua trees, and the permits were released to me on the based the Freedom of Information Act. Sorry, I have to take a breath. I audited the years 2018, 2019, and 2020, and unfortunately, it gives a clear picture of how the town of Yucca Valley does not have a system that truly protects the Joshua trees, sadly to say. The town of Yucca Valley claims that the Joshua tree has triple protections via the federal government, the state, and local ordinances, and that there's no need to file with the California Fish and Game Commission. Your landscape package is actually very well written, but it appears as though it's not being enforced, and this is what I found with some of the permits. Many permits that I looked at, reviewed, had absolutely no photos of the trees or maps. And it looks like on the permit, there's supposed to be photos and maps based on the landscaping package. There were none there, and many trees were destroyed. They were just cut down anyway, and actually were given the permit on the same day that the person applied for it. So that was of great concern to me. Some of the photos that I looked at of the trees that were present, which weren't very many, I did about 100 permit reviews. A lot of the trees, looked like maybe it was near an electrical line or what have you, but it looked like it could have been trimmed. Or maybe there could have been a pole like some of the ones that were tipped over. It just looked like staff was making decisions to just have the tree completely destroyed, like just destroy it. So I was very concerned about that as well. I didn't see any effort that's being signed off by staff. I didn't see where anybody was overseeing the permits. I've run 3 departments at hospice, and I'm responsible for my departments. I could be liable and sued for that. So I didn't even see a line where anybody would sign for that would be more of an expert to review the trees, to see what would need to be done. That wasn't there. A lot of them were signed by M. Anderson, and I'm not trying to say anything about her. I'm just saying it looks like staff who doesn't have expertise is allowed to sign off on these permits, which is of great concern for these beautiful, iconic trees that are not being preserved, that are supposed to be protected at the local level. I didn't notice very many adoptions. I saw a few of them maybe. I didn't really see that program was very proactive in training people to adopt out the trees. And I could go on and on and on if I had 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Deborah.
David Fick, followed by Christina Sanchez, please.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is David Fick of Joshua Tree. I've met 3 of you before. You do have my written comments, so I'm going to abbreviate and go through some of this. That meeting you had on May 19th, you approved the I Hate Joshua Trees letter. You couched it in wonderful concerns, but it boils down to Joshua trees are just a nuisance. Lately, since the Joshua Tree petition concern, things have gotten awkward. There are people who have upped their concerns for all things Joshua Tree. I've been monitoring Yucca Valley and Joshua trees since 1992. There have been plenty of episodes of destroying 588 Joshua trees, 468 Joshua trees, over 900 in the Mesquite 55 project, 200 in the Century Vintage Homes seismic trenches, hundreds upon hundreds with the first 2 Copper Hills projects, and of course the Sage Estates having at least 315 Joshua trees destroyed. It's hard to keep count, but my educated guess is approximately 10,000 Joshua trees have been destroyed since Yucca Valley's incorporation in 1991, permitted or not permitted. Lately, I've met with a couple of group of people throughout the Morongo Basin, even some from Yucca Valley. We've been monitoring recently some Yucca Valley contractors who didn't have permits on in-holding spec construction projects. Both are ongoing investigations. Neither had permits upon review. The David Webb incident of Monday, August 10th, 2020 brought about some interesting confirmed information. His Cristina Sanchez event was bordering criminal when he sent his assistant to follow her to her home in Morongo Valley. That was after he attempted acceleration of his truck and trailer full of Joshua trees and jacking towards her vehicle. We have video. After the altercation at his property, Christine went directly to the Yucca Valley Planning Department with 2 parcel numbers. She also had an iPhone recording audio at the public counter of the planning department. She asked the associate planner about the permitting status of the 2 parcels. There were no permitting activity whatsoever. Then code enforcement staff joined the conversation. We very much appreciate the candor of the code enforcement. Let me give you some recorded quotes. The commission has these audios. Our hands are tied, unfortunately. It's going to stop as soon as the state does their thing. That's why it's happening right now. All these builders know that the state's coming down to try and stop it. So they're trying to get their projects through before it comes down, so it doesn't bankrupt them, and that's what they're doing. And the cringeworthy, they are protected trees, but technically all he has to do, even if it's already gone, he has to come get a permit after the fact. Got 13 seconds. Yucca Valley needs adult supervision. The state of California needs to come in and audit you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fick. And everyone, thank you for keeping track of your time properly. We appreciate that. Who is next, Madam Clerk?
Christina Sanchez. And then Olivia DeHollerville.
All right, good evening, Jeff.
Hi.
Council. I'm here today to talk about the incidents that have happened and the illegal removal of Joshua trees that have been happening. Lately, we've been seeing an influx and a hasteness to remove these Joshua trees due to the upcoming Fish and Game Commission hearing that's due this week. This is not acceptable. This cannot happen. I'm seeing and I'm reading what Town Council is putting out there. Mayor Jeff Droids, what he puts about basically this animosity towards the Joshua trees, as making them seem as it's almost like a blight to the economy, to the town of Yucca Valley. And what I found to be so incredible is that is there any investigation that's going to happen in terms of Mr. David Webb? I echo what was just mentioned by David Fick. I do have video, I do have photos. It was confirmed that there was no permits for this incident. The thing that I thought was so disconcerting is that your staff, the administrative assistant to the code enforcement, Mary Anderson, gave contradictory information in terms of was this a permitted action. And I echo everything he said. You do have photos of both incidences of Jeff Tile and also David Webb incident. You have these images. There's no whatsoever permits for either, for D. Webb and also Jeffrey Teal. Why is your staff giving misinformation? She was corrected by your associate town planner, what's his name, Jared Jerome, who clarified that there was no permits for the parcels that were in question. And, I basically want to know, what is the town of Yucca Valley going to do to mitigate any more impact onto Joshua Tree woodlands, which also happen to be a desert tortoise habitat? So this is like a habitat where these endangered species are dwelling with the Joshua trees, and these people are going around ripping up, cutting down Joshua trees, and what are the repercussions? How is Yucca Valley going to act upon these men in question, David W. or D. Webb, Incorporated, and Jeffrey Teal in construction, I believe his business is. What are you guys going to do? Are you guys going to find them? Are there going to be any type of implications, ramifications, where they are going to have to reestablish lands that are in need of restoration? We need to stop this animosity towards the Joshua trees, and Yucca Valley needs to do so. I don't know, I have 28 more seconds. Okay, let's see what else. Your own Development Planning Code, Chapter 9 even says here, I'm going to quote this and I'm being done. Section A, Chapter 9, under your Yucca Valley Development Code says, it is prohibited for any individual or entity to remove, transplant, damage, destroy, disturb any part of any regulated desert native plant except for its fruit from any privately or publicly owned piece of land in the town of Yucca Valley without first obtaining the regulated desert native plants permit from the town. So please adhere and follow your rules and stop killing Joshua trees. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. And who was next?
Thank you. I live off of Yucca Mesa Trail, Olivia Holtville. And yeah, I learned tonight something interesting. We Yucca Valley people have 3 recharge stations. I thought that was very exciting, and I'm sure that everyone's proud of that. And then I was given this book called Lorax, which I think all of you who have children have either read to the children, or if you have grandchildren, you've read it to your grandchildren. It's about a little humanoid creature. I'll just read the last page here, which I thought would be appropriate for the evening here. This is quoting this little humanoid creature called a Lorax. It's a truffula seed. You see, the Lorax is in love with this truffula tree. Truffula. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds. And truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a truffula. Treat it with care. Give it clean water and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from axes that hack. Grow a forest, protect it from the axes that hack. Then the Lorax and all of his friends will come back. Thank you so much. Let's all be very proud of our Joshua trees, and let's take as good care of them as we can. I'm sure we can do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Piper Court, there it goes, and Greg Vara following.
We need to reset the time.
I just wanted to remind everyone that as we speak now, tens of thousands of Joshua trees are burning in the dome fire in the preserve, and so it's all the more important that we save everyone we can. Thank you. I speak for the trees.
Thank you so much.
Greg Vara, and then Alex Perez.
Good evening. My name is Greg Vara. I'm a Yucca Valley homeowner and taxpayer. I'm here tonight to express my support for the petition for Joshua tree protections, and also to express my dismay at the town of Yucca Valley's one-sided and biased representation of area corporate home builders, developers, realtors, investors, and Airbnb operators with your official stance in opposition to protecting Joshua trees and other native and endangered species. Yucca Valley's website presents this biased opinion that Joshua trees are not endangered and already have, quote, triple protections, unquote. We all know this to be misinformation at best. Federal protections were allowed to lapse by the Trump administration in August of 2019, and local ordinances have not been administered or enforced for some time. An audit of the Yucca Valley's Joshua tree permitting process has proven the town to be malfeasant in enforcing your own ordinances for Joshua tree protections, proving the permit process to be a sham, while at the same time the adoption program has gone dark for the most part. Your biased representation and misinformation program has incited many contractors to rush to destroy Joshua trees and other native plants on their project job sites, while your code enforcement department sits idly by and does nothing but make up alibis why these contractors are destroying Joshua trees with no permits. I believe it was Mary Anderson who stated they did not need a permit to destroy Joshua trees as long as they had a building permit. Please show me where in your town's ordinance where this is cited. Mayor Drost has been very active on social media, perpetuating these lies and spreading misinformation in this regard. As a Yucca Valley homeowner and taxpayer, I resent your one-sided representation of the business community while ignoring the pleas of your constituency for equal representation. I called for a town hall to include those of us who were not heard, which fell on deaf ears. The town of Yucca Valley joined forces with the County of San Bernardino Supervisor Don Rowe, Assemblyman Chad Mays, High Desert Water District, and Joshua Tree Gateway Realtors Association to vehemently oppose California Fish and Wildlife's review for CISA candidacy without any input from home and landowners. In fact, the town's website links Supervisor Don Rowe's form letter of opposition sent out to the Joshua Tree Gateway Realtors Association, area realtors, and big business community. The town of Yucca Valley is wrong-headed with their hands-off approach on urban development and area sprawl. A slow and responsible growth plan needs to be devised for native plant protections, open space, affordable housing, and a highway corridor that will not have us looking like Indio in the foreseeable future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barra. I believe we have Alex.
Alex Perez.
Ahe, awa bema halba, nai wooba, na yim nata ak some. Hello, five chiefs here, you. My name is Strongwind from the land of Texas. We're all in the land of the Chimahueve, the Mojave, and the Cahuilla. Did you forget? These trees that everyone's talking about represent the natives that are gone now. To me and to people like me. You understand? This is how passionate some of us feel about this subject. The land is the last thing that is native to this area. This ecology, these fragile ecosystems, it's the last thing living here. They predate your grandparents. I prepared a little statement here while I was sitting. This way of living is very different from my native cultural understanding. There is a fundamental philosophical difference of living in balance with nature as opposed to dominion over it. What we have here are completely different sets of values, that nothing is off limits to be made a commodity of. To monetize even the water and air, to destroy fragile ecosystems. Valuing that money rules and all else fails. From the native perspective, the natural state of the land is our church. Please understand that. It's not a place to go to that was built. So many of us understand that now and can relate to that understanding that the land has a spirit, and you're just in the blatant disregard of that. You're destroying that spirit of this land. There's no more natives. They're gone. Those were clear cut too. interconnectedness of all life is crucial to maintain. As stewards of the land, it is our duty, especially the 5 chiefs, okay? I believe that there is a common ground that can be met in balance between responsibility and demand for growth of modern civilization, but it will not be met under the status quo and existing attitude towards the land and its position on the list of priorities. If those elected into positions of leadership cannot wake up to the understanding that the world's ecology must be made priority, then we have to wake them up to the fact. It is irresponsible industry that steers the bull's horns in the china shop. The consumer didn't ask for the destruction of fragile ecosystems. This taking without restriction is the tradition of manifest destiny. And frankly, who's stopping?
Alex, I hate to cut you off.
And for
but
those
you're over
who
time.
believe that they own the land because they have a document by way of participation of high thievery and coercion, that you can do whatever it is that you want to the land without consequence, you're short of sight. No one gives you the right to take all that you wish. You just take out of irresponsibility. The hunger of clearing the land for the sake of progress is never extinguished. Some of these trees are older than your own family's trees' roots upon this continent. When your grandchildren ask you what is it that you did to prevent ecological genocide, what will you tell them? Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Is there anyone else, Madam Clerk?
I have no other requests to speak here.
So is there anyone else that has not spoke in the audience, in the public, that would like to speak on this issue? Or any issue, actually. This is public comment. You could speak on anything.
I'll say something.
Sure. Come on up.
So, do I say my name?
Yeah.
You know me.
Yes.
Crystal Wysong. I came to support my friends who are speaking about the Joshua Tree, but I also, when Olivia read the Dr. Seuss book, the first time my daughter saw Joshua Tree, she said, "Mom, this looks like a Dr. Seuss book." And I thought, that is so cool that someone so young at the time would notice that. What I noticed when I first drove through Yucca Valley was, why isn't Yucca Valley called Joshua Tree? Because Joshua Tree doesn't have that many Joshua trees. Yes, the park does, but I mean the village itself. And I remember being a kid and going to Arizona with my mother, who was from Phoenix, and thinking, my memories of Phoenix are that it's so beautiful, or it was so beautiful. It had giant saguaro trees. And now you go there and you know what it looks like? It looks like Las Vegas without casinos. It's hideous what they did. And I just want to point that out because right now when you drive through Yucca Valley, you still see a lot of beautiful Joshua trees. And I would hate to see them all gone. But that isn't really why I came up to speak. I just got inspired. I just came up to ask a question, which is actually from my husband. Why did you put the type of charging stations in at the library that you did? Because he was so excited that we could come into Yucca Valley and run our errands and charge our car. It will cost us twice as much money to charge our car here as it will to charge it at home. So, just saying. The one in 29 is free. So, I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know what the decision, maybe it was just for tourists. I don't know. But anyway, we'll be charging at home.
All right. Thank you, Crystal.
So, Mayor, we did have some submissions for public comment that came in prior to the meeting. And they're all related to the Joshua Tree conversation. One is from Ernesto Navarez. So all of you have received the copies of these, and they're included up front here for the public. I also received another comment from Myra Kennedy, a Yucca Valley resident, And then we also received one from Dr. Deborah Sabat, who also spoke in person here. And during the meeting, I did receive another public comment, which also was emailed directly to the town council from Cody Briggs, also on the Joshua Tree conversation.